Hey guys, what's up? And in this video, I'll be going over all the trades that have been made during the trade period. I will also be going through them in team order, and as well as that, I'll go over every team's draft picks, as well as a summary of all their ins and outs. The only trade that Adelaide got was Billy Frampton from Port Adelaide. The Lions had multiple trades. The first one was Cam Ellis-Yolman from the Crows. The second one was Grant Birchall from the Hawks. And the last trade was Callum Archie from the Suns, so the Lions did pretty well in terms of that. The Blues were able to receive Eddie Betts, who returned home after being away at Adelaide for 6 years, and they also received Mark Pittonet from the Hawks. The only trade that the Pies received was Darcy Cameron from the Swans, whilst for the Bombers, Tom Cutler was the only trade they received from the Lions. The Dockers received Blake Acres from the Saints, which was a big part of the Brad Hill deal, whilst the Dockers also received James H. from Collingwood. The Cats were pretty big winners, stealing Jack Stephen from the Saints for pick 56, whilst the Cats also received Josh Jenkins in exchange for pick 37 from the Crows. The Suns were pretty big winners, receiving Brandon Ellis from the Tigers, Zach Smith from the Cats. As well as that, they also received Hugh Greenwood from the Crows. Another Crows player also left GWS in Sam Jacobs, whilst for the Hawks, they received Sam Frost from Melbourne. The Hawks also received Jonathan Patton from the Giants, who was a Formula 1 draft pick. And for the D's, they received Adam Tomlinson from the Giants, and they also received Ed Langdon from the Dockers. North Melbourne's only trade that they received was Aidan Bonner from the Giants, and Port Adelaide's trades are nothing, whilst the Tigers also received nothing. St Kilda were arguably one of the biggest winners this trade season, and as I go for them, I'm really happy about it. We received Paddy Ryder and Dougal Howard from the Power. We also received Brad Hill from the Dockers. Another trade that we received is Zach Jones from the Swans. And the last trade that we received is Dan Butler from the Tigers. The Swans received Lewis Taylor from the Lions. And probably the biggest trade so far was Josh Kelly returning home to the Eagles from the Cats. Josh Bruce went to the Bulldogs from the Saints, which personally I'm not too happy about. Whilst the Bulldogs also received Alex Keith from the Crows, which is another Crows player who left. Now I'll be quickly going over all the draft picks that each team now currently has after the finalisation of the trade period. The Crows end up with 6 draft picks, being pick 4, pick 23, pick 28, pick 37, 45 and 49, and this is probably due to them getting rid of most of their players and in return receiving a lot of higher draft picks. The Lions received 7 picks, with their 2 highest ones being pick 16 and 21, which I would say is pretty good. As for the Blues, they ended up keeping pick 9, which is probably because they didn't get Tom Papley or Jack Martin, and they ended up with 5 draft picks overall. The Pies only ended up with 3 draft picks, and their highest one is only pick 35, with it being pick 35, 62 and 74. For the Bombers, they ended up with 6 draft picks, with their highest only being 31, whilst getting 3 picks in the 60s and getting a low of 88. Fremantle did pretty well in terms of draft picks with pick 7, 10 and 22, and it should mean they'll get some good plays in the draft. For the Cats, they ended up with pick 14, pick 17, 24, 36 and 93, and that's widely due to the fact that they received the picks from Tim Kelly. The Gold Coast Suns get pick 1 and 2, the priority picks, so they get pretty much a gift from the AFL, as well as 15, 20, 78 and 90. The Giants ended up with pick 6, pick 40, pick 59, 60, 80 and 94. The Hawks ended up with 7 draft picks, with the top 2 being pick 11 and pick 30. The D's ended up doing pretty well in terms of draft picks, getting pick 3 and pick 8, so 2 top 10 picks, and the third pick is pick 97. North Melbourne, they did okay in terms of draft picks, getting 2 second rounds in pick 26 and 27, and yeah, they did all right. For Port Adelaide, they get pick 12 and 18 from the Dougal Howard and Paddy Ryder trade, as well as pick 29. For the Tigers, they did alright. They got pick 19, but they got pretty much like the Port Adelaide got a bunch of high draft picks. After all the plays the Saints got, they ended up only getting 3 draft picks, with the highest being pick 51 and then 82 and 100, so not very good for them. For the Swans, they get pick 5, which they couldn't get Joe Danaher for, pick 25, pick 32, 44, 76 and 80. Just like the Saints, the Eagles ended up getting barely any draft picks, with their highest being pick 46, and that's thanks to giving away the picks for getting Tim Kelly. And the Western Bulldogs ended up doing okay. They got pick 13, but then they finished with 53 and 89. Now I'll quickly show you guys every team's ins and outs that have been made over the trade period. Until then, I'll be seeing you guys in my next video, which should be over the weekend.